Marco.
Hello, Nicole.
We are in Sydney. Is it the first time you are in Sydney?
It's my first time and my second day in Sydney, and I just fell in love with this beautiful view. We have been all this morning in around the rocks, and we've been here in the theater. And maybe one day I will live in one of those houses.
One day when you are rich.
That's it. That's it.
So where do you live usually?
I usually live, it depends, because I've been traveling around. It has been like 1.5 years that I'm traveling.
So where were you born?
I'm born in Napoli, in South Italy, but my origins are mixed and I'm not really a typical Napolitan. So let's say that I lived most of my years in Napoli and I'm born there. I'm the only one of my family who's born in Napoli. And that's it.
And how did you get to hear about Esperanto?
I was in, I think it was during my end of my primary and the beginning of my secondary school. I just had the chance to, maybe my parents introduced it to me, or maybe some teacher. I think it was my father, most probably. He bring to me a paper with some basic rules. And it was the period of the European Union was doing a very important steps in his life. So I think it was a big moment for the European Union. There was all this speaking about it, maybe the Esperanto just came out. And I don't really remember precisely. But like most of the Esperantists, the first time I heard it, I was very, very interested into it. But then the moment when I really approached it came much later. In this case, it came like 10 years later, 15 years later, and just a few months ago in Adelaide.
So why did you start learning Esperanto?
Why you mean? I think it's when you want to communicate with people, you must put yourself into. You must actively also try to understand the others and try to understand the way of understanding. So basically, traveling understood that first of all, I don't like the fact that we should speak English. I can speak also the language, and I don't think that English should have a priority just because it's economically stronger. And Esperanto is a language that doesn't have all this economical background. It is more like has a lot of meanings, it's easy to learn, and I think all this little factor brings it to be a great language to know. And the people who learn it and dedicate to it, I'm very interested into them, because I think that they share this point of view. I mean, it's I would say the ideals who are related to it, but also linguistically it's interesting. And why not? I can speak more language. My family has very different backgrounds also from nation and language. So I think Esperanto is for me, it was just a natural part of my life. It had to be done for me.
Many people say that Esperanto is easy to be learned. Is that really true?
I'm still learning it, but I find it very easy. But I already used to learn other language. Naturally, it's easy to learn to have a basic understanding of Esperanto. Obviously, to be more natural with it, to have a better to have better skills with it is maybe it's not that easy. But let's say that it's basically the basics are easy for everybody, and I think that I have that feeling.
And so, how does it compare with Japanese or English?
I don't know. For example. Compared for the language I studied most was French, and I think compared to French is easier. Compared to Japanese is easier. English, I don't know. Maybe it can be easy. Obviously, there are few rules. It's the vocabulary is very simple. So for me, it looks like it has all the ingredients to be a simple language. And you can take whatever language. It looks more complicated. Maybe the Esperanto the communication cannot be reduced just to speaking, obviously. So maybe in Esperanto there is just speaking, it's just words. When if you have a day-to-day life, you just feel that the words are just a part of our communication. They say that it's just like the 20% of communication is language. So maybe in these Esperantists have too much this feeling that just words can be a communication between people. But it still is a great part of it, and it's a very simple part of it. And I like that. I mean, traveling, I can see, for example, here I'm in Australia doing a working holiday visa, and there are a lot of English, Irish people, and sadly, the people who don't have to do an effort to also learn a new language to communicate with other people are the worst one. Because if you do also an effort, and if you have to do it, you put yourself in the shoes of the other one much easier. So in a way or another, having to learn the language. The language is not everything in communication, but having to learn it force you to understand other people much more than it will be just to speak your own native language. So I like that. I really like this.
Okay, thank you very much,
It was
Marco.
a pleasure. It was a pleasure. And saluton to everybody.